Online at minnesotapersonalinjury.com.
This report is sponsored.
I have a real ethical dilemma that I want to discuss, but I'm going to save it for tomorrow's show. I think you can help me through it. And oddly enough, it has a Timberwolves meltdown connection. We'll save it for tomorrow's broadcast, which will also include the picks. I'm assuming Lavelli Neal III and Ben Gessling.
You got
That's on tomorrow's program. Don't forget, the big knocker, Bill Maurice, will join us after today's edition of the Top 5 at 5. But now,
it's time for Dr. Dan's Inbox.
Speaking of ethical dilemmas,
would you say this has been, in terms of as the editor of the Dr. Dan's Inbox segment, this has been your most challenging week?
Yeah, no question.
What is fair game?
Exactly.
What is out of bounds?
Exactly.
What goes a bridge too far?
Exactly. There's a lot of collateral damage in a situation like this.
Oh, you're about to say collaborative.
Well, we'll get to that.
Okay.
Yeah, trust me, that word has appeared. If I just did an F3 search on collaborate right now in Dr. Dan's Inbox, that thing would light up like 4th of July fireworks. Thank you, Wedding Day Diamonds, for bringing us Dr. Dan's Inbox every Thursday right around 4:30. Unless Dan talks politics at 4:15, then it's more like 4:43. But
there's a lot of good, juicy political stuff to get to that we're not even scratching the surface on right now.
And we will build up to where everybody wants to go, because people took the time to maybe think off the beaten track in Dr. Dan's Inbox today.
I'll take your word for it on that.
Dear Dr. Dan, I got it done. K Kaprizov is under lock and key. I had to go to S, Florida to get it done, but I got him to report to T Camp on time, which will include skating right up onto the shores of El Superior in October, where the UMD Bulldogs breed championships. This one must be from Duluth. I'm sure you'll hear from me again in 5 years, and hopefully no sooner. B. Guerin.
Well, that's the great contrast right now. You have the Minnesota Wild basking in the relative glory of, at the very least, I mean, it's not like they've made the playoffs again or made a deep playoff run.
Not yet.
They have done the one thing that the Wolves rarely are good at doing. They have avoided disaster. They have avoided a crisis. And even though it ended up costing them probably a couple more $1 million a year over that 5-year deal, they did, and B. Guerin did exactly, I think, ultimately what he knew he had to do. He was boxed. And to that extent, I don't think he had much choice but to give top dollar. As long as they were willing, they being the Kaprizov side, get to the 5-year deal as opposed to a fewer number of years, at that point, you pretty much are going to have to do what you're going to do. And so they come into camp not only with all their horses intact, they come into camp apparently 100% vaccinated.
Think about it.
100% vaccinated. So there you have it. We'll see how it goes. And you heard it from Guerin yesterday. Two of the more interesting things he said. One, yeah, we better hit the ground running. No, you don't mess around. We can't mess around. And two, as a, I think, throwback guy in some ways, he reminds us that he hopes we never reach a point where there's not room for face-to-face contact, eye-to-eye contact in not only getting something like this done, but I think in terms of getting your debate points out.
Yeah.
Getting your own view of here's why we think this is what you have to take. Whatever the story, whatever the subject might be, it doesn't have to be about a contract, but whatever your gripes may be, that there is something still different about confronting each other face to face. And he's probably right.
Did you say Kaprizov?
It's time for Dr. Dan's Inbox.
Oh, we get letters. We get your letters.
I see what you're doing. You're working up to it, aren't you?
Dear Dr. Dan, yes, because it's going to dominate after the next
Makes
letter.
sense, yeah.
Under the cover of darkness, I flew into Miami.
There's no way to go. There's nowhere to go after.
No. And
You
all
just
the
got-
walk-offs,
that's the walk-offs, yeah.
all the walk-offs are related to this, too.
Exactly it, yeah.
Under the cover of darkness, I flew into Miami last week, and boy, are my arms tired. I had a great couple of days with my GM. Finally decided to sign the contract that he offered like 2 months ago. It'd been on the table so long, I had to give it a quick blow to remove the thick layer of dust that had accumulated on top. No real reason why it took so long, other than I enjoyed seeing M. Russo nearly explode in a coffee-fueled rage each week I waited. We had to fly private back to the Twin Cities, as my GM B. Guerin would not have been able to get his brass ones through security. K. Kaprizov, P.S. The sounder, it's just hockey from our press conference yesterday, should get plenty of play this year.
I honestly believe that M. Russo. I almost forgot he has a first name. You know what I mean? I
We
just
just
think
call
of
him
him as
Russo. Yeah, it's a compliment.
I think M. Russo. Yeah, it's like Madonna. Really not that different, is it?
You say Russo,
Yeah, you know what it is.
everybody knows who you're talking about.
I think he loved every minute of the so-called, sequencing, the back and forth, the alleged
Hey,
controversy.
he likes to click.
I'm not sure there ever really was that much controversy, but there were enough elements to the story and changes to the story that he could justify 1 week saying, uh-oh, and the next week saying, that looks like they're talking more and it's about to come together. He got a lot of clicks. He got a lot of extra stories out of it. I don't doubt that he's glad it's over. He doesn't have to chronicle it any longer. But I think M. Russo got everything he wanted out of that story. He milked it. That's for sure.
It's time for Dr. Dan's Inbox.
Oh, we get letters. We get your letters every day.
Dear Dr. Dan, well, geez, where do I start? Work has been a peach lately. I've been taking a lot of heat the past couple of years about being dynamic enough or not being as cool or as ruggedly handsome as my counterpart in T-Bay. I even got finger wagged for an alleged employee wellness infraction recently, which is a violation of my hippo rights, by the way. Well, excuse my language, Dr. Dan, but that's a bunch of corn nuts. I'm not going to take this anymore, gosh darn it. Just because I don't have a whiz-bang spontaneous solution to every problem that comes running my way doesn't mean I'm not a valued member of my team, so to speak. I might not have the flair or the swordsmanship of the G-Bay quarterback, but I do my job. I meet my quota, steady as she goes. And speaking of G-Bay, how about their productivity numbers for the first week of the meeting or first week of the sales quarter? Lower than a frog's backside. Sure, my boss seems to like me, but he even brought back one of our disgruntled frontline workers, E. Griffin, apparently to light a fire under me, even after the guy said some hurtful anatomical things about me. Well, cheese and crackers, Dr. Dan. From now on, I don't care about being anybody's best friend, even though I'm still open to it if he wants. Anyway, thanks for letting me rip loose with some salty language there. Never really did that before. It just feels good to get that B out of my bonnet. It feels, I'm just going to say it, damn good. Sorry, you can clean up that last line if this makes it to air. Yours in moderation, K. Cousins.
I will say this in kind of defense of K. Cousins. As each week goes by, A. Rodgers is bothering me more. The latest example is, and it was very conveniently played, but not played until after they made mincemeat in the second half of Lions Club that was actually pretty plucky in the first half.
Frisky, very frisky.
And you heard him, I think, didn't you? He's basically the trolls out there. I hope, will this settle them down a little bit? Acting like, it just seems like it's worse. The overreaction to what's going on. Gee, again, isn't it a bit disingenuous to have turned every aspect of your off season into a crisis and say, I don't know if I just didn't know if I was going to play. If I did play, did I want to play for Green Bay?
50-50.
And I did the Jeopardy thing, and I let my hair grow long because it's apparently something to do allegedly with the Halloween costume that he has. And I gave a lot of deep thoughts to where I wanted my life to go. And then you play your first game and you get destroyed worse than he's ever been destroyed by a team that the next week has proven to be not unbeatable, and you're surprised that the way the National Football League machinery works, that there might be some people wondering that, well, yeah, it's Aaron Rodgers, but it's A. Rodgers, but maybe something is up here. And then you act smug about how could anybody even, it's silly overreaction. Maybe this will keep the trolls at bay for an extra week. He's becoming easier and easier to root against as each week goes by for Dr. Dan.
Run that by Gerby tomorrow.
Well, I would say, seriously, just have some, I'm fine playing with it, but have some self-awareness that if you're going to consciously and actively make yourself the center of all attention in the National Football League this offseason, you're going to now be outraged that people overreacted to you playing the worst game of your entire professional career. Come on, man. I don't think I'd want him. I think I've decided I wouldn't want him.
I'd still take him. I have no shame, though. I'm a Minnesota fan. I spent my entire life with no quarterback.
I understand that.
Are you ready now?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Are we properly warmed up?
Let's do it.
I'm already feeling guilty.
Don't.
This is the most guilty I've ever felt.
It's a satirical segment.
In a Dr. Dan's inbox.
We'll hide behind the satirical segment motif.
It's time for Dr. Dan's Inbox.
Oh, we get letters.
Remember,
We get your letters.
to prove libel, there has to be malice.
Okay.
As long as there's not malice, we're okay.
Dear Dr.
Well, actually,
Dan.
it'd be slander in this case, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, even I know that.
Yeah.
Because the trick is spoken word, S and spoken word start with S.
Very good.
That's how you remember. I learned that at one of my colleges. Dear Dr. Dan, Jay Flynn's smile might have made me pass on S. Curry, but at least I never collaborated with someone else in the organization, if you know what I mean. Show of hands. Did you know the meerkat mates for life? D-Con.
That's my one regret. Dr. Dan's one regret from the fascinating interview we had yesterday with C. Reeve was when she went out of her way to praise G. Taylor. And I let it go in part because, what's she going to say? It's technically her boss. And for all I know, she feels like she's been well compensated and well treated by G. Taylor.
And those lasagna dinners never stopped. The Lynx lasagna dinners never stopped.
Is that true?
Yeah, they've always done it.
They've done it?
Well, I don't know if they have lasagna, but I know that the meals never stopped like they did.
Could be fettuccine.
Could be different pasta.
Could be different. Could be bow tie
B.
pasta.
Taylor is versatile. Versatile cook.
I'm just here to tell you that, and you just mentioned, but via that letter, not even C. Reeve, I think, could say with a straight face that G. Taylor has been the Minnesota Timberwolves' best friend, other than saving the team from leaving.
Yeah.
After that, what? And you brought up again another one of the most remarkable examples of it. There's so many. The hiring a former sports writer to run your organization is one of so many more. Jay Smith. The list goes on and on and on. Illegal contract. So to that extent, I guess I say maybe the moral of the story is, as bad as this is could it possibly be any worse than hiring a former sports writer? No, I still would argue that was worse. But remember, we were told by all the smartest people in the room at One Mayo Clinic Square that they had discovered electricity. They, no one else, no outside agency, had looked at all the main candidates and identified that there was something distinctive and special about this guy who was going to clean out all the oppression, all the lack of cooperation that the oppressor, T. Thibodeau, represented. And we now have fairly, I guess you could say, strong evidence to suggest that maybe not all the same people, because maybe there's some new people in there, have come to a very different conclusion at this point. Either that or it's just a flat-out palace coup. And when they got the hammer is represented by the relationship, the consensual relationship between two, as far as we know, married individuals, both working at high levels in the organization. They said, let's pounce. Let's not wait. And maybe we'll inspire Ben Simmons. Maybe B. Simmons will be even more inspired to come here.
Did you say T. Thibodeau?
Mm-hmm.
Man, we are in alignment.
It's time for Dr. Dan's Inbox.
Letters. Oh, we get letters. We get your letters every day.
Dear Dr. Dr. Dan. You thought I was mean and toxic? At least I was upfront about it. Oh, yeah, and won games, but no. You wanted to create a warm, cuddly, family-friendly, safe zone environment where players are coddled and the picture painted about the team is one of rainbows and butterflies. Too bad the painter was a low-life skis ball. This league is a business, Jack, and not one that treats office space like a red light district. Meanwhile, I'm back in the playoffs in a big city where, yeah, we might snatch your wallet and punch you in the gut, but at least we'll tell you to your face that I mentioned we were in the playoffs last year too. Trust the process. T. Thibodeau.
That's just brilliantly written. Dr. Dan sometimes is just so awed by some of the writing that I don't even think he has a retort. I think you just let it speak for itself.
Enough said.
Enough said is the best way to say it. You're right.
It's time for Dr. Dan's Inbox.
Letters. Oh, we get letters. We get your letters every day.
Dear Dr. Dan, due to a recent change in my employment status, I find that I now have a lot of extra time on my hands. Would you be able to check with your producer, Jay Gard, to see if he'd be willing to give up one of his many jobs? I believe I'm quite knowledgeable about basketball, and we work extremely well with women. G. Rosas. I told you. I feel like Norm Macdonald, just like
you know what's gonna be after this segment. You're gonna want to hit to the showers. You're gonna want to hose down. Is what
I know.
Yeah.
But I felt guilty all day.
Yeah, they brought it on themselves.
Do you have anything on that one?
A lot of these are the beauty of it is they're going to speak for themselves, and it's kind of preaching to the choir. But I think what you can cling to, despite your pangs of guilt, is that just go back to the beginning, as we did early in this show, when this organization, more than any I can recall, was in self-congratulatory mode, almost from the very moment even before G. Rosas was introduced. And so to that extent, they're getting exactly what they deserve.
It's time for Dr. Dan's Inbox.
Letters. Oh, we get letters. We get your letters every day.
Dear Dr. Dan, I want to thank KFAN Radio, specifically the Power Trip Morning Show, for all their commercials. The advertisements held up to their promises. Every time I ordered Blue Chew chewables,
Oh my God.
the packaging was truly discreet. Discretion is something the Minnesota media can learn. They even shipped it to my office. Dr. Dan, how do you suggest I find a media market with a little more discretion? G. Rosa.
Well, I didn't even know what to say to that one either. I think I'm not sure there's going to be another shot at the big prize. That's the saddest part about this. G. Rosas, basically his whole deal was, this is the job you want, right?
Yeah.
You want to run a basketball operation?
Yeah.
I'm not sure there's going to be a second opportunity. And I'm hoping, maybe it won't matter at this point. Maybe it's impossible to find out. We all kind of bought when he came in, even those of us who were perhaps a bit more skeptical of the process than those who were congratulating themselves about it, self-satisfying themselves about it. I am curious to know if there might have been more to the story in Dallas than just that, well, he got there and he suddenly realized he didn't have as much power as he thought he did. I wonder if the intrepid reporters we have in this town might want to go back a second time to say, well, might there have been more meat on that bone? Might there have been, something else that was a hint that perhaps we weren't getting, the second coming of a woke, extremely inclusive,
Collaborative
Red Auerbach.
Cooperative.
In other words, all the best things you get in a talent evaluator.
Yeah.
Plus, and I'm okay, you're okay, new age, inspirational leader.
It's time for Dr. Dan's Inbox.
Letters. Oh, we get letters. We get
This is a
your
deep one.
letters every
You got to
day.
think about this one.
I get some of the oddest texts from Lori Fisher out of nowhere, you can imagine.
I believe
So-
that.
We've been playing phone tag today.
Yep.
Okay. So at 4:15, I texted, "You've changed," and she sends back a photo with the word "sorry, busy doing this. Call me when you get a sec." And what is she doing in the photo? She is got a bow and arrow in her hands, and she is aiming at targets. Is she a great archer? Is she a great archery mind?
I don't think
But
I've
it's
ever.
just such an odd out of nowhere. There's Lori Fisher with a bow and arrow. Anyway, I'm
Makes
sorry.
me nervous. Dear Dr. Dan, I'm hoping you can get this out to your sea of listeners. Majestic though I may be, I am not the yellow brick road into some magical fairyland devoid of consequences, nor I am an overwater thoroughfare in Madison County. You can't cross the mighty Mississippi from Minneapolis into St. Paul, traverse my historic granite and limestone, and expect that everything you do in a nearby stadium's luxury suite will be kept secret. In the future, please reserve me for harmless cycling and championship parades as opposed to your collaborative and misaligned dalliances of degradation resulting in the utter drainage of decency. Yours, S. Arch Bridge.
Oh, that's not even second level. That's third level.
I told you it was deep.
That's extremely deep. Was that the location? Some of the photos that
M
have been.
United. Yeah,
Okay.
M
okay.
United.
All right.
Football.
I said this much earlier. I don't know if you agree with me or not.
I do.
I'm not as puritanical as people about
I do.
being, wagging my finger about, you're married. You shouldn't be doing this. No, you shouldn't be doing that. But many of the people who do the most finger wagging are the ones that have skeletons in their own house. And I get sick of it. What I think raised it to a different level here, and I don't think this is necessarily a situation where one person was in a much greater power position than the other. I think there's reason to believe they both had very powerful jobs, and this was consensual. And I'm just not here to judge because there's too many situations that we don't know about. We're really good at telling other people what to do, not so good about when it's thrown back our way. So I tend to stay over the years. Try to be pretty consistent about staying out of that. Harassment's another issue. Taking advantage is another issue. Those are different things. What Norm Green was involved in is a very different thing, the accusations against him. But if indeed the stories are true that part of the discomfort within the organization was what they might come upon, opening a door of an office, that's where you're asking for trouble, even if you're in the group like me that says, I'm not going to get in people's businesses as uncomfortable as it might be. That then becomes a workplace issue that people have every right to say, come on, what are we doing here? I'm not at all comfortable with this. You take it outside, get a room, and I'm out of it. But if you're bringing this into here, then you're asking for the kind of trouble that ultimately apparently led to the dismissal of, I'm assuming, both individuals. I don't know. I think, put it this way, I don't think either individual is still in their job, are they?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Well, one of them we know isn't.
Right.
The
That's
other
true.
one we don't believe.
All right.
Ready for some walk-offs?
Yeah, why not?
It's time for Dr. Dan's Inbox.
Letters. Oh, we get letters. We get your letters.
Do these
every
need,
day.
in your mind, no response?
Not really.
Okay.
Dear Dr. Dan, those who don't learn history are doomed to repeat it. P. Fenton.
Ooh.
Dear Dr. Dan, do you think this means my Timberwolves Employee of the Month awards will be vacated? After all, it was consensual. C. Adult. Got a lot from this individual.
Okay.
Dear Dr. Dan, can you let G. Rosas know if he needs any advice? He can reach out to me. B. Clinton. Dear Dr. Dan, I heard about the unfortunate thing that happened to G. Rosas. If you talk to him, let him know this might not be the end of his troubles. There's a chance the Republicans might try to impeach him. B. Clinton. And I got a half dozen that I just don't feel comfortable reading.
So even you decided in the end you couldn't go there.
I just want to let people know that N. Teague was heard from early and often.
That's what talk about a callback.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you probably made the right choice there. Top 5 at 5 will include a Golden Gopher men's basketball controversy involving the former coach. I thought he was gone, but he apparently is still getting ripped, and it's getting some attention. Anything else?
What else is there? I'm going to go shower.
That's
Go
I
hose
think
down.
at the very least, maybe even a sedative.
bumper to bumper.